This is in the New York Post. This comes from America First Legal. This is Joe Biden posing with some of Hunter Biden's, well, first of all, this is an introduction to Xi Jinping. And then there was a photo with what appears to be some of Hunter's business associates as well that includes Joe Biden. Now, of course, Biden has said many times, didn't meet Hunter's buddies. Remember?
I did not know he was on the board of that company. I've never discussed my business or their business, my sons or daughters. I never discussed a single thing with my son about anything having to do with Ukraine. I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings. I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period.
A little bit of a surprise. What do you got there, Charlie?
The Great Hall of China.
Such a great headline.
They just blew the Democratic Party wide open, you guys. President Joe Biden has just been caught in these newly uncovered photos meeting with Hunter Biden's Chinese business associates in China while he served as vice president. So he never discussed business with his son? Anybody buying that? What does this make this? Pleasure? Now, speaking of another Democrat taking pleasure at the people's expense is California Governor Gavin Newsom. The controversial official has all but declared war on the Trump administration. In fact, they have announced $500,000 for federal litigation expenses against the Trump White House. In particular, a website featuring what they call descriptive narratives about potential legal actions. Another bill would set aside another $25 million in order to pay lawyers to sue the Trump administration and also to defend the state against enforcement and legal actions taken by the federal government. Can you believe this nonsense, guys? Now, honestly, it just sounds like more money making disguised as liberal crusading, all at the expense of the American people. It's almost like money laundering. You know what I mean, guys? President-elect Trump brought up something very similar to this just recently. He talked about the millions of dollars that the party shelled out to celebrities just so that they would endorse Kamala Harris. Specifically, he quoted $11 million, $2 million, and $500,000 to get the endorsement of Beyonce, Oprah, and Reverend Al Sharpton. I'm guessing Reverend Al Sharpton was the cheap guy. I guess if you call $500,000 cheap, that ain't really cheap, but I'm just saying in the grand scheme of things. And even worse is that Trump says that there's many others. Definitely a lot to talk about in this one, you guys. Definitely stick around to the end. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. But really, first is the major headline over the president's relationship with China, what Fox panelists Gregg Jarrett and Brianna Lehman called the most audacious influence-peddling racket in U.S. history. Here, check this out.
How significant is this when we think about this back and forth? It appears like there was a back and forth between Biden and China.
Yeah, you know, whenever Joe Biden does something highly beneficial to the Chinese, and these commutations clearly were that, his motivations are suspect. You know, Joe Biden is compromised by his own suspected involvement in his son's China gravy train that netted some $5 million to the Biden family. Congress found the receipts. They found the wire transfers, the bank accounts, not to mention all the shell companies that were used. Is it any wonder that the father gifted his son this unprecedented blanket pardon for everything he did for 11 years, total immunity for things like money laundering, foreign lobbying crimes, violation of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, bribery, conspiracy, the list goes on. Wow. And the paper trail, Tammy, tells the story of what I think is the most audacious influence peddling racket ever in American history, the magnitude of which we've never seen before in the sheer dollar numbers. And the evidence is compelling that Joe Biden played a pivotal role. I called him in my columns the closer. He made the deals happen. So commuting sentences for the Chinese, that fits the self-dealing pattern of Joe Biden.
I mean, what else can they say, guys? Once a liar, always a liar, right? Now, at this point, I think we should really be talking about putting certain guilty officials in jail. How's that sound to you guys? Because you just know that the likes of Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, they were either complicit or directly involved. In fact, I think they need to take a close look at the entire Democratic Party from the top down, and not just the ones that are in Congress. They need to investigate the governors, the mayors, the attorney generals, the DAs, even the judges in the state courts. What do y'all think? Because these newly uncovered photos of President Joe Biden meeting with Hunter Biden's Chinese business associates in China, they're irrefutable proof that Joe Biden has been hiding something. In fact, the photos were obtained just recently by conservative-leaning America First Legal through litigation against the National Archives and Records Administration. So basically, they had to fight tooth and nail, lawyer to lawyer, just to get these photos. And you can understand why, because they appear to show the then Vice President Joe Biden introducing his son to Chinese President Xi Jinping and then Vice President Li Yuanchao. Other photos show Joe Biden posing with Hunter Biden's business associates from BHR Partners, including Jonathan Lee and Ming Zhu. Now, as America First Legal said in their press release this week, these images shed light on the connections between then Vice President Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and his Chinese business associates and Chinese government officials, including President Xi Jinping. Lawyers and representatives for President Biden and President Barack Obama delayed NARA's release of these photographs, as they did with other records, all the way up until Election Day. Now, honestly, guys, I can't even say I'm really that surprised. This is the evidence that we've been waiting for ever since the Post broke the story of Hunter Biden's laptop in October 2020. And from that point on, the president basically denied having anything to do with his son's business dealings, but I don't think anybody really believed. Did y'all believe Joe Biden when he said that he didn't have anything to do with Hunter Biden's business? I didn't go for that. So his denials were pretty much as good as Bill Clinton's claim that he didn't have any sexual relations with that woman, Miss Monica Lewinsky. Yeah, I ain't buy that either. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I mean, the guy even had the most ridiculous lie that he had never discussed Hunter's foreign business with him. Yeah, okay. Laptop messages and photos showing Joe meeting with some of Hunter's skeezy clients proved otherwise. And the evidence didn't stop there. The son literally got millions of dollars from Ukraine energy company Burisma, despite knowing nothing about energy or Ukraine. I'm willing to bet you could spin the globe as fast as you can, stop it and say, all right, Hunter, find Ukraine. That dude would never find it. Then, of course, there's Tony Bobulinski. He's a former Hunter Biden partner who bravely authenticated many of the emails and identified Joe Biden as the big guy slated for a 10% cut in a Chinese deal. So this goes all the way back to 2013, if you think about it. Hunter Biden joins his dad, then Vice President Joe Biden, on Air Force Two for a trip to China. Air Force Two. So that would mean that they did this on our dime. Okay, don't even get me started there. And of course, when they returned, Hunter Biden got a huge investment from a Chinese bank in hand. Now, are we really supposed to believe that during this entire trip that Joe Biden never once asked, hey, son, how's your business doing over there? I mean, it is a long flight to China. I'm pretty sure they came up with something to talk about. And for those who are clinging to the idea that Joe Biden's repeated denials were somehow credible, I'm sorry, but the release of these damning photos from that trip really puts that story to bed. But here's the real kicker, guys. These photos, they don't just prove that the president was dishonest about the Chinese business dealings. They point to something that's a whole lot bigger. Let's just say that. A possible government cover-up. Because remember, guys, the National Archives held onto these photos until after the election, despite there being legal pressure already from America First Legal. Now, just think about what that means. Wouldn't that be, I don't know, election interference at a minimum? I mean, we're talking about a possible coordinated effort involving multiple people within the administration in order to keep this under wraps. Biden didn't act alone. It's not just a lie. It may well have been a full-blown operation to protect Biden's re-election chances. So here's where it gets even more interesting, all right? Y'all ready for this? Did Attorney General Merrick Garland know? How about Vice President Kamala Harris? And honestly, how could they not know? This kind of information travels fast, real fast, especially in political circles. And let's not forget, every single detail of VP's international trip is documented right down to who she meets with. The Secret Service, the CIA, the FBI, they're all in the loop. What do you think? Joe Biden and Kamala Harris just walking around in China by themselves without Secret Service or the FBI around them, or both? Do you really think that they didn't know that Joe Biden's denials were bogus? I'm just saying, this isn't just bad optics, guys. This is potentially blackmail material. And it raises the question, like, how many people in the Barack Obama White House were aware that Joe Biden was introducing his son, who has a history of personal struggles, drugs, guns, sex, to China's top leaders and bankers? I mean, this is why these photos aren't the end of the story. In fact, they are only the beginning. Guys, take a second, please. Drop a quick yes in the comments down below and hit the like button if you guys are picking up what we're putting down here in the video. And hey, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, tap that notification bell as well. That way you guys can stay updated on this story and all of the other news that matters to you in our country. I'm gonna keep you guys in the loop, promise you that. In fact, we still got a lot more to cover in this video, so let's get back to it. Starting with California Governor Gavin Newsom's plans to help illegal immigrants dodge President-elect Donald Trump's mass deportation plan. I know, I can't believe it. Governor Gavin Newsom, he's like trying to help illegal immigrants like avoid Tom Homan and all of his ICE supporters' plans to get rid of the illegal immigrants from America. But here's Vaughn Vidiello, former U.S. Border Patrol chief, giving his take on what he describes as destructive Democratic leadership. Watch this.
California Governor Gavin Newsom wasting no time reportedly drawing up plans to help illegal migrants dodge deportation when President-elect Trump takes office. According to an internal memo obtained by Politico, Newsom is planning an immigrant support network to connect at-risk individuals, their families, and communities with legal services, schools, labor unions, local governments, etc. Ron Vitello served as Border Patrol chief during President Trump's first term. He's also been the acting director of ICE as well as a deputy commissioner of CBP. Ron, hope you had a fantastic Christmas. California is really trying to get out there, according to Gavin Newsom, in pushing back on the effort to finally get the border chaos under control. What do you make of this?
Merry Christmas, Griff. This is destructive leadership shown by Gavin Newsom in California. We just had an election on November 5th. People voted for secure borders, safe streets, and knowing that the president was going to initiate a deportation effort, not just because he wants to, but because we just had about 12 million people enter the country and being encountered by CBP crossing the border illegally. Something must be done about what just happened over this last 4 years. And now he wants to use the state's funds and the state infrastructure to flout federal law. This is a state that has some of the highest income taxes in the country, some of the highest sales tax in the country, and it got a $68 billion deficit, billion with a B. And so he's going to use taxpayer resources to protect who exactly? People who are in the country illegally, who broke the law to be there, and have also broken the law in the jurisdictions in which they live in California. And so this is destructive leadership shown by Gavin Newsom, and it is not what people voted for. It's not what the people of California need. But that's unfortunately what they have, this terrible leadership in the likes of Gavin Newsom in California, who's going to destroy that state if he hasn't already gone a long way to do it.
But at this point, guys, I think Californians need to declare a state of emergency against Gavin Newsom, their own governor. Because seriously, guys, I don't know. Like, I've heard from Californians both in person and online, and they're all saying that they have no problem with Newsom being imprisoned for this. What do y'all think? Because the Democratic governor, Gavin Newsom, has all but declared war on the Trump administration. Basically, the government of California is not standing for it. How are you going to be one state going up against the federal government? Whatever it is, they're against it. Now, guys, this is a direct quote from a bill introduced in their state of California's legislature in early December. Lawyers from the Attorney General's office and the governor's office have been preparing for a potential second Trump term for more than a year. And they're not preparing for Trump in a good way. In fact, that bill said it would authorize $500,000 for federal litigation expenses against the Trump White House. In particular, a website featuring descriptive narratives about potential legal actions. A second bill would actually set aside $25 million to pay lawyers to sue the Trump administration and also to defend the state against enforcement and legal actions by the federal government. And you know the real reason for this, guys? That's because effective at noon on January 20th, California could be in legal hot water. Well, what happens on January 20th, Ron? You see, state regulators have been pushing the cost of energy up, and they're grinding businesses down with more home-brewed environmental restrictions that are way way more restrictive than even the federal standards are. In fact, they're actually violating federal law, except for the fact that California has a waiver. Special authority under the 1967 Clean Air Act to set its own standards. But guess what, guys? Trump has vowed to end this waiver. Then, of course, there's their very open and unsafe state and city statutory laws that help shield criminal illegal aliens from deportation. Now, Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, has already said that he's going to arrest local officials who interfere with the operations of his officers. So does this mean that Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, is threatening Governor Gavin Newsom that he will arrest him if he gets in the way? Sure sounds like it to me. Plus, Trump has denounced California's governor for prohibiting local voter ID laws, for mailing out tens of millions of vote-by-mail ballots, and for allowing voting to go on for a month. I mean, hell, with all these shenanigans going on over in California, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump actually won California if these shenanigans weren't going on. You know what I'm saying? Anything's possible. I'm just saying. All these state-specific policies, they could very well go out the window during Trump's time. And remember, guys, the entire House of Representatives is on the ballot every 2 years. So this could very well set the stage for a very long-standing Republican majority in Washington. So this is why Gavin Newsom and his Democratic allies, they're all up in arms about the Trump administration, even without Trump even actually doing anything. He ain't even do nothing yet. And this is just how afraid their party is of losing whatever little power they have left. In a related story, President-elect Trump accused Democrats of paying celebrities millions of dollars to endorse Vice President Kamala Harris. Here's what he said on Truth Social. Are the Democrats allowed to pay $11 million, $2 million, and $500,000 to get the endorsement of Beyonce, Oprah, and Reverend Al? I don't think so. Beyonce didn't sing. Oprah didn't do much of anything. She called it expenses, and Al is just a third-rate con man. So what's going on here? Totally against the law, and I've heard that there are many others. Now, if you guys remember, both Beyonce and Oprah Winfrey, they joined Kamala Harris on her failed presidential campaign trail. Reverend Al Sharpton, is he even a real reverend? Anyway, so Reverend Al Sharpton, the civil rights leader who hosts MSNBC's Politics Nation, interviewed Kamala Harris in October and also held a Get Out the Vote rally to boost her candidacy. And this is what we know for sure. Al Sharpton's National Action Network nonprofit received $500,000 from Kamala Harris weeks before the interview, according to the Washington Free Beacon. Oprah Winfrey has insisted that she wasn't paid a dime by Harris's failed presidential campaign, saying her production company Harpo Productions netted $1 million for its work on the star-studded Unite for America virtual town hall event in September. Wait, virtual town hall event in September? It cost like $1 million for like a camera and an internet connection? Did I miss something here? Anyway, Harris's campaign paid Beyonce's production company Parkwood Production Media $165,000 in November, a month after both women appeared at an event in Beyonce's hometown of Houston. Could President-elect Trump be hinting at a much larger Democratic operation behind the scenes? Could this possibly be connected to the huge sums of money Hunter Biden secured from a major Chinese bank all the way back to his trip with his dad, Joe? Let me know your thoughts on this, guys. Drop a quick yes or no in the comments down below. Let's make a conversation out of it. We can definitely pick this up in a future video. Just say the word, and also make sure you stay subscribed. And guys, in the meantime, while we're working on the next video, I highly recommend you guys check out our other videos on the channel. I just uploaded an update on the Guatemalan illegal immigrant that was involved in the disturbing subway burning in New York City. Now, if you guys want more proof that we need Trump's deportation plan ASAP, check that video out next. Coming up, as always, thanks so much for hitting the like button and subscribing. See you guys next time.